Hello and welcome to today's workshop where we will be focusing on the two Red Robins SVG USB Natures Radiance. Now first things first, I need to apologise for my voice. We've had a very long weekend and a very enjoyable weekend of teaching in the Academy, but it has taken its toll on my voice. Hopefully just bear with me through this workshop. I'm going to teach you and show you how we can create a lovely unique card base using the matte layers within this USB. So first things first, we obviously want to get our reflection artwork cut out. So we're going to do a quick demonstration on how we align, scan and cut these elements out for use in the card design itself. So we're going to start placing our USB in the side of the machine. We're going to go ahead and click retrieve data and then go onto the USB. Now this is my USB from home, so it has several different demos on here. Obviously yours will be the Natures Radiance SVG USB here. And we'll find our lovely owl that's going to feature as our main character for this card in Autumn Equinox. So each one of your collections broken down into their relative folders, and then furthermore inside of that we have the different elements again for each collection. So this is Celeste, our owl. And for this, we are going to be cutting out the reflection artwork. So I'm going to click on Reflections and Cuts. And we are working on the original size here. So click on Original for this one. It will give us the choice of the decoupage layers and also the cut layers. We're going to go ahead and cut the cut layer first. So we're going to click on that and drop it down onto our mat. At this stage, what we need to do is edit and choose to group everything together on our mat in Object Edit. Once we have grouped everything together, we can click OK and OK. And now we need to scan that artwork into our mat. So when you're printing your artwork, you print it on your computer. Again, just navigate to the file that you want to print. Print out at 100% if you want it to line up exactly with the artwork here. And print on something like a premium pure print paper from Craftmaster. It's a really lovely paper range, which means the ink's going to sit on top of the paper design, and it's going to give you a really lovely, not only purity of colour, but really good high quality within the detailing as well. So we're sticking it to our mat nice and securely, offering the mat up to the machine, letting it bump up against those bumpers there, but also making sure we're just hitting the little side rails as well, and click the mat feed button. The machine will take the mat in and then adjust its position as well for us to start working with. We want to scan, so we want to see exactly what is on our mat. So we're going to click the little scan button here and click start. And what the machine is going to do is basically produce a full colour image on screen of exactly what is on the mat. So really great, really easy, helps us line up our reflection artwork. But say you're at home cutting maybe, I don't know, different types of cardstock or pattern papers and things like that. It also allows you to scan those in and just be able to line things up perfectly. At this stage, what we want to do is make sure that SVG file is lined up exactly over the artwork. And we made it really easy to do. So the red box, when we click the SVG file, needs to line up with the black box of the artwork. So we can drag and drop using our stylus like so. And we can go into Edit to magnify the screen up to 400 times to really check that we've got that properly aligned. That red line needs to sit centrally, and you can nudge it into place using the arrow keys on the side of the screen there. Once you're happy with the alignment, you can click OK. And say you didn't want to cut all of these out, maybe we just want to use two of the reflections at this point, you can go into Object Edit, ungroup everything, so you see those red boxes are back. We can click OK, click off the design, and that allows us to then select what we want to work with. So here, we don't necessarily need the red box anymore. We can click to delete and click OK. And same thing with these two little arrows at the bottom. We're not necessarily going to use them in this design, so you can to then work with those. What you want to make sure of, you're not moving anything, because this is already aligned, this is already in the right place to cut this artwork. So don't drag and drop anything, just use the arrow keys to toggle through the different file designs. We're going to click OK and OK, and please select to cut, and we are also then going to click the start button. Because we're working with an SDX, we haven't had to worry about setting the blade depth or anything like that. It's an automatic blade function, so the blade is coming out in its little carriage, measuring the depth of the mat itself, and then going ahead and measuring the depth of whatever material we're cutting onto. So that makes it super quick, again, to cut, because we're not having to adjust anything, and it will go along and cut those 2 owls out. Once the machine has finished cutting, what we can do is unload the mat and then peel those owls off. If you're batch making at home, go ahead and cut all the images out. You can always put them aside for another project for another day. But just for quickness, just for ease, I'm showing you between the two how we cut just the 2 images out for this design. The blade's just tracing around the edge of the last owl there. And once it's come to the end, it will go back into its start position. The machine will also tell you that it is finished cutting, so we can click OK, and then we can unload the mat using that mat feed button again, like so. So here, peel away the artwork, and we are left with that beautiful, perfect cut each and every time of those little owls. I mean, they are gorgeous, aren't they? Just swooping in, add so much movement to the card design, or perhaps a shadow box, home deck, or whatever it is you're making. Really lovely storytelling around those. But cutting to at least gives you a nice height for decoupage, layering these things up, doubling them up as well. What you also need to go ahead and do is cut out your other artwork pieces. So here, for example, this is the decoupage file. You'll be able to tell the difference between the designs, not only by the way they look, but each design will then list if it is a decoupage, if it's not your original cut. So Autumn Equinox, the collection, Celeste, the type it is, and then the decoupage layer is detailed on that as well. So same thing again, line that box over the top and cut those elements out. From here, go ahead and cut lots of elements out. It's always better from an inspiration point of view to have lots and lots to go at, so you can choose how you build this card design. We are going to end up with a little card that looks like this. But I'm going to show you now how we create that beautiful, unique card base using the welding function on the ScanNCut as well. And of course, this can be done on the CM models as well. If you're following along with one of those, we'll be, of course, demonstrating it on the SDX. So let's go ahead and start building that card base. Because we're not using this particular cut anymore, we're going to click the home button. It will say OK to delete all patterns. All that means it's deleting it off the workspace. It's not deleting it off the USB or anything like that. So we click OK. And from here, we want to build in that design. So let's start with the central point. Let's start with the main bulk, if you like, of this card. Let's go into our basic shapes and scroll down from the machine's memory till we find the circle. We're going to go ahead and set that on our mat. And I'm just going to drag it and drop it to the middle of the card design, just so it makes it a little bit easier for us to build in different dimension to this and also different sizes to this as well. This card itself has been built around a 7-inch circle. So we want to go in and edit, object edit, and size that to 7 inches. Now this is showing me a design in millimeters. That's fine. We can just click the settings button down here and change that unit measurement to inches. We can then click OK for those settings to act, and you can see that's then just changed over to inches, and we want 7 inches. So let's just plus that up to 7 inches, just to make it super, super easy. So 7 inches, let's come down a little ways, like so, tapping that until we get the desired size, and click OK. Okay, now let's make the base for this card as well, because obviously at the moment we're working with a circle. We want something that's going to be a nice straight line along the bottom so our card can stand up. Let's go ahead and add from our USB, Nature's Radiance, and then we're going to select hedgerows. There's quite a few flowers and things in here which have that nice straight edge along the bottom. So we're going to go into Blades of Beauty. And because we're working with the mat cuts here to create that card blank, click on those mat cuts. Work with the original size. Again, it's dependent on what reflection artwork you've printed out. And we click OK. Whenever we load something to the mat, it's always going to load to that top corner of the design. From here, we can drag and drop it down so it sits within the shape like so. And then we can click on it. We can edit and object edit, and we can add more. We don't just want one, we want a whole field on here. So let's go to 3 and have those spaced out around the bottom of the card, just like so. So I'm just dragging and dropping these into place, just moving them over. So we've got a nice amount of overlap, not too much, and then we've got the circle of the main bit of the card in the background there as well. First things first, what we want to do is make sure all of these that are along the bottom are aligned. If you don't have them aligned, you're going to end up with a wonky card. It might be this one's a little bit lower, this one's a little bit higher. So we want to go ahead and select part of the mat. So let's click on off the circle and onto one of the pieces of wheat, the blades of beauty. And we only want to select part of the mat. We want to leave the circle where it is. And we just want to work with the wheat at the moment. So dragging those arrows down, cutting off part of the top of the circle. So it should just select the 3 blades of beauty. Click OK and OK into our move tool and into our align tool as well. And here we're aligning along the bottom. So always look for the straight line. Okay, imagine the little blank circle and the little filled in circle are your elements. The line is telling you which way, which orientation it is going to align to. So we want to align everything along the bottom. We click that and you see those nudge down into position like so. We're going to go ahead and click OK and OK. And from here, just click off the design, make sure we're happy with where that circle's sitting as well. Now it's time to go ahead and select everything on the mat, click OK, Object Edit, and we want to weld those together with the Weld tool. We'll have a little think about it and then it will display an image of what it is going to weld to. So we're going to click OK and OK for starters. Now, of course, you could be adding anything to here. We could put some leaves in here. We could add in, I don't know, different flowers, whatever it is. But essentially, you want that nice curved shape to the top and then that straight base along the bottom. And you've created your own card blank. What we also want to do is bring in a little section up here, a little matte layer up here for our owl to sit into. So let's go ahead and click OK and repeat that process we've just done. We're going to click Add. We're going to go into our Retrieve Data, back into our USB, Natures Radiance USB, and we're going to go ahead and click in Autumn Equinox, where we're going to find our character, Celeste, and we're going to work with the matte cuts here and the original matte layer like so. Here she is, perfect, absolutely beautiful. I'm going to click OK and then just drag and drop her down until she's kind of flying over the top of the card design like so. From here, same process we've just done. Edit, select everything on the mat like so, and then tell the machine we want to go ahead and weld those 2 shapes together. Again, it shows us a preview. Again, we click OK. And you've just made your unique matte layer for this card design, which is beautiful. Go ahead and cut that out. For this card design, we've cut it out of a pattern paper, which I will just show you. Just like so. So you see you've got the wingspan up here, you've got the blades down here, a few little leaves. Whatever it is, it's a great way of making that initial matte layer for your card design. What we also need to do is create this again, but as a second layer to make our card blank. So from here, we're going to say, OK, we've cut it. We're coming back into the edit screen. This little tool here is on your SDX machines. It's called the offset line. If you're working as a CM user, you would need to do this step in your Canvas workspace. But if we click on that little button, it will give us the option to add an offset line around the design we've just cut. At the moment, it's 0.06 of an inch. We can click that up to whatever offset size we want. Let's say 8. Click OK. And that's going to create us a surround for our matte layer, which is going to be perfect for our card blank design. When the design clicks back to the working mat, the area that is selected is always going to be that original file. So we obviously don't want to cut that as it is, because if you did, you're going to cut a really fine matte layer. Let's move that original away, click OK, and just get rid of that in the bin. That gives us our card blank. We go ahead and cut that one twice from a nice heavyweight cardstock, and that's going to give us our card blank. Once, cut once for the top of your card, cut once for the back of your card. And just like so, you've got not only the card blank, but also your bespoke matte layer as well, into which we can start building this story about our lovely owl coming in to feed her chicks. So now let's go ahead and construct this card design. As we've said, we've got our card back and our card front. I tend to find it easiest to give it a little shuffle, holding it all in place and tapping it down so we can make sure that bottom edge and everything is then nice and positioned. We've already put a little score in, and we're going to go ahead and fold that score line back. We're then going to go and take away the tape. So we've popped our little, either finger lift tape or red liner tape. Take away the cover sheet on your tape, keeping everything, so we've tapped it into place. We're keeping our hand on the back of that card to make sure it doesn't shift about, and then just flattening that down to give us a nice 10-fold card in that card shape design we've just created on our ScanNCut. That matte layer, as we've mentioned, cut from background papers and just lined up. Again, holding it in place, going to get a little tab going on just to make it easier to position. Get that line up straight, get it all the same distance of the white all the way round the design, like so, before we take away the carrier sheet and smooth down just one section of the tape. That gives us a little hands-free. It makes it a little bit easier to come in and remove the carrier sheet for all of the other little bits of tape to stick this layer down. Now, when it comes to mats and layers and things like that, I do mix and match between height and depth and, you know, distance of the matte layer that I'm creating. But because for this design I want to create a lot of depth within the decoupage layers, my card blank and my matte layer for this are going to be stuck flat. So I'm using finger lift tape to stick those together. From here, let's bring in some of those cuts that we have just used. So in the background, we've got the Blades of Beauty. And because they sit along the edge like so, it just makes it super, super nice to line these up. So 2 along the base that way. You can see how this side, you've got that little leaf coming over, or the little blade there coming over into that little area that we've used to weld. And of course, what we do have on the USB as well are reverse reflections too. So you don't have to have all the wheat facing the same way. You can mix and match it, layer it up with different orientations. I think more is more when it comes to the wheat. It's nice to really, really layer it up and make it look really, really full in that backdrop for this design as well. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and stick that in place because that's going to be our first layer, but we are going to embellish it with a few of the daisies and a few of the poppies, just to give you a little bit of colour in that background as well. We're going to have, of course, our owl coming in to say hello, cut from the original and also then the decoupage layers too. And again, more of a little pop of colour with a few of the little leaves, which are going to be the nest into which our baby owls are going to snuggle down beautifully too. So let's just get all of our cuts ready to go. Once we're happy, we can go ahead and start sticking. So first things first, a little bit of the wheat. I'm going to use a little bit of bookbinding glue along the bottom, but it might be that I come in with a few of the little Craftmaster applicators just to get the tips of the wheat stuck to the card. Anything that's slightly delicate, just think about then burnishing that down and into place so it doesn't get torn or lift or anything like that from your card design. Little bit of glue on the bottom of my glue applicator. I'm using Pinflair bookbinding glue just because it's really, really great glue for this type of work. It grabs really nicely, but it doesn't have a super high water content, so it's not going to ripple or buckle the paper that we're working with there. Just going to go ahead and stick that bottom layer of the wheat down. Notice how I've only put the glue initially on that base layer, on that strip along the bottom. It means then I can come in and stick as needed the rest of the design. Same thing again. Let's go in with a little bit of glue along that bottom edge. Using the glue applicator means I can get into all these finer little areas without splodging glue everywhere. And because we're working with that wet glue, it does give us a little bit of wiggle time just to position these and get these in the right place so it sits within that bespoke card blank we have just made. As we've mentioned, layering up with the reverse reflections as well, just to give you that extra little boost, that extra little bit of detailing within the design. It instantly makes the card feel really full, really luscious in the background there. The fact that these are quite a delicate cuts, right down to the finest little stalks, if you like, of the wheat, it doesn't overload the card at all, so you can really go to town on adding lots of layers here. Once we've got the wheat stuck in place, I'm not going to go ahead and anchor them down just yet. I'm going to see how it looks with the rest of the pieces laid on it, and then go in and add extra glue if we need to. So next up, let's look to our leaves. So we want to add in some of the wonderful, these are the maple leaves, this lovely bright burnt orange colour, very, very attractive. I just need to find the right size for that little edge there and the right orientation. There we go, one big leaf. Let's just see if we want to do 2 big leaves. I'm not going to be precise on where I'm placing them, it's just to have that wonderful backdrop which the owls are going to nestle in. That gives us a little backdrop, and then we can use the extra smaller leaves in front of the owls there as well. Once again, think about how you would be working with these to give them shape and texture. These are leaves, you wouldn't be sticking them flat to your design, so just lift, curl, tease those leaves, the edges of the leaves, all the elements of the leaves into place, and then we can anchor those in place, stick those in place with a little bit of the pin flare glue gel as well. So it lifts it from the background and just gives you that extra height and detailing. Furthermore, you can use your pokey tool to twist and turn. I'm just running the paper of the cut over the edge of the pokey tool there to give it a little bit of detailing, to give it a little bit of texture. And again, just placing that glue gel on the back, popping them at different heights, again, giving you that option there. So it's not quite symmetrical, but it's just the same detailing going on. Central little leaf, a little bit of glue gel, and filling that space in the centre. And again, once larger leaf design just off to the edge to fill that side of the nest as well. And a little bit of glue gel to layer. Now, I do want to get our owl in place because I think she's important from a character point of view. And again, to give you that prominence, we're going to cut her a couple of times and layer her up as well. So she really feels like she's alive. She's coming forward from the card design itself. Again, we're not going to stick her flat. We're going to give those wings shape. So again, look to the artwork. Is the wing coming towards you? Is it going away from you? Really accentuate the design. Once you've brought that forward, just add in the glue gel in those points where you've added lift to really shape and texture this design. And she will nestle in to that matte layer we have created as well. Using the pin flare, it does mean you get a little bit of wiggle room just to adjust her as she sits. And now it looks like she's properly swooping in on the card itself. Let's have a little look at what's going on. Decoupage layers next, so we've mentioned, really build up the height, really build up the dimension, pull that wingspan forward so it's coming forward from the card, and then shape out the rest of her. Little bit of glue gel on the reverse, and that another layer, just pulling that forward, really emphasising that wing coming out and towards you. Final wing there. Same thing again, pulling the tips of those wings forward and adding in. So again, it's all about looking to the decoupage. What are your main characters? What are your main features of this card? Just add in those extra layers to give it more depth, to give it more dimension. She's obviously looking after her baby chicks here, so let's have a look at how we want to position those on the card as well. I love this one. The little dumpy one, he's just so cute. They're going to nestle in essentially the nest in the foreground, but again, you can ground them. So when we talk about grounding, it's this idea of coming in and adding elements over the top, so they aren't floating in midair, but they are just nestled down, snuggled down into their little nest, like so, okay? Again, once you're happy with positioning, shape and add to your card blank design. So just giving them fluffy, full little tummies there, and a little bit of glue to sit. This one looks rather inquisitive, doesn't it? He's just sort of poking his head out of the nest to say hello. Layer him. Just like so, and then you've got the little tiny one who's sitting in the foreground as well. Very sweet, very fluffy and very cute. Just like so. And again, same thing with these smaller leaves. Just lining that nest. So you've got a lot of detailing coming forward from the design. Again, you're working with that pin flare, so you can come in and adjust if needed, tilt in the angles until you haven't got anything overhanging. You can't see sort of the tail of the birds or anything like that. Just repeat process. You could have one coming forward, maybe you could adjust the layers, you could have leaves behind, some of the ones in front so they look further back. Gives you a sense of depth and perspective there as well. Curling each one of those leaves, again, texture is so important when it comes to designing cards like this, because it really does give you a lovely shape, a lovely detailing, and a lovely flow to these card designs. A little bit of that leaf like so. So properly snuggle that little baby owl chick down into the nest. Cover him, or her I suppose, with the leaves, and just adjust until you've got them all sitting and grounded within the design itself. Let's just use my pokey tool to adjust that one further, like so. We've got smaller leaves we can add in too. I might just do one or two possibly in the background behind as extra texture to those birds. We want to give them a snuggly nest, don't we? We want them to be really nice and comfortable, like so. Okay, so from here, one final thing, I wanted to add in a couple of flowers, just for a point of difference between this and the original card there as well. So here, a few of the poppies. We can, of course, snip these away from the base layer there as well. So again, giving you options. It might be that you just want one or two little poppies nestled into the background, but it draws the colour through the whole of the card there. Let's just snip, 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 and see where we go with this. Let's just release that poppy from the design. I don't want to overload it with too many. And I think I do want to put in this white colour. We've got a little bit of white in the background, but I think it's important to, again, play around with that colour tone with a few of the little white elements from these daisies. We're not overloading it, just adding in a couple for detailing. So again, snipping those away from the base, giving us something to play with here. Whenever I'm creating like this, I tend to not stick many layers until I found the composition that I'm happy with. But these as little tuck-ins, do you see how instantly you're connecting that white of the chick through the background of the design as well? Little white daisy in there maybe. We want a poppy overlay over the top. Maybe a couple of poppies over here. Again, not going crazy on it, just something to tie in those colours as well. Once we're happy with the layout, I probably want that coming this side maybe, we can go ahead and stick. So a little bit of glue on the back, lifting and tucking those leaves. Daisy as well, a little bit of glue, and tucking that in maybe at more of an angle. And it's these layers over the top that have got glue on the back, which is going to anchor most of these weak elements in place. It might be that we just add in a little bit of glue behind the larger sections there as well. A little bit of glue, lifting and tucking, make sure we're tucking any of those sort of cutaway stems behind so you don't see sort of the workings of this card, if you like. It all becomes just as one. Little poppies as well. And then I think we just need a little bit of glue on a couple of these errant strands. But again, going in with that Craftmaster glue applicator makes it easy to attach those perfectly to the back without overloading the glue and splodging it everywhere. I'm using the end of the glue applicator. It's the end opposite to the felty bit. So again, felty bit on, add the glue, and then swap in the glue applicator over. So you've just got a point into which you can just burnish down the glue quite happily. One more that needs just anchoring in place. A little bit of glue, smoothing that away with the glue applicator and sticking that down into place. Then what you can do, of course, if you want to add a little extra dimension, come in with perhaps a little bit of glossy accents, add those to the eyes of the owls here, so it gives it a little shimmer, a little shine. But that creates our bespoke matte layers and card blank to tell our story of our lovely owl swooping in over her little chicks. Now, of course, that kind of idea of welding the card base can be repeated with any number of the mats and layers from Nature's Radiance, or perhaps other 2 Red Robins USBs you might have. Don't forget to share with us your mates. We love seeing what you've designed with these USBs too, so you can hop on over to our Facebook page, which is Highlight Crafts Official, and share with us there. But until next time, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope to see you soon.
If you would like to see more from Highlight Crafts, make sure you click the like button. Subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, and click the bell icon to receive notifications on all our future content. You can also click here to see our latest video, or click here to see more videos like this one.